I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Yes, it does, Bill. Welcome in. It's another edition of the Daily Punch Drop here on a Tuesday, September 9th. We come via the one and only Puck Sports Studios. Brought to you by Limback Lumber. Limback Lumber, and I've got the old Crimson. This is the best part about doing this and not double-checking everything I'm doing. I've got the graphics up for our old Crimson podcast rather than our Daily Puck Drop podcast. That's fine. This is, we're working. These are the things that happen when you're a one-man band. Anyways, we're in the Limback Lumber Studios. Contractors, they're going to take care of you. They're going to do everything and anything to get you set here for your lumber needs. Use them today. I'm telling you, they're the best in the business. LimbackLumber.com is the website. Give them a call, 206-782-3487. And again, Limback Lumber is your one-stop shop for all of your lumber needs. And they are proud sponsors here of the Daily Puck Drop and, of course, Puck Sports. You can follow me on all the social media platforms, Puck Sports on X, Instagram, Puck_sports on TikTok. Find us on Facebook at Puck Sports. And, of course, when you're there, sign up to join the Pucks Posse when you go to pucksports.com. We're going to cover a lot of things on today's show, obviously. We've got the Mariners to talk about. We'll get into a little bit of the Seahawks, the Nick Emmanwori injury. That's not good. The high ankle sprain. Not good news coming out of Mike McDonald just in terms of the situation with him, which it didn't look that bad in the game. And then all of a sudden, like when he got up, I still think it, for whatever reason, I know it was either Lawrence or Williams fell on him. To me, I feel like when he got up and jumped over the player to celebrate is when he did it. I swear if you go back and watch, it looks like that's when he does it. But anyways, he is going to be out for, God knows, who knows now. That could be 4 weeks. He could go on the IR. That could mean a high ankle sprain, could mean any length of time. Could be a severe injury for any football player when they talk about high ankle sprain. So the Nick Emmanwori injuries, not good there for the Seahawks. Mariners with a big win last night. I went to the game. It was great. It was so much fun to watch Bryan Woo pitch up close and personal. He's great. Josh Naylor with the huge double in the game. Julio Rodriguez continues to be torrid. I know he's not the greatest base runner in the world. Well, he's good stealing bases. It's just when it comes to the baseball running IQ of it, he sometimes he lacks in that department. I want to get the best AB though of the game was Leo Rivas there in the sixth inning. That was the best play because he gets in there, draws a walk after he works a full count, 3-2, fouls off 3 or 4 pitches, and then ends up getting the walk. Rosarina then follows up, and then just the floodgates open. And a buddy of mine I was sitting with was telling, he's like, this is in the first 4 innings, they're terrible, right? You're like, he's like, just wait. You know what's going to happen. It's the script every single time. And then he's right. You get into like later in the game of the 6th inning, and they all of a sudden get a couple guys on, and then they explode. And it always happens. I'm telling you, all the time. It always happens with the Mariners. So it was cool to watch those guys get it done last night, and they now run the ring streak to 3 games. Way to start off the homestand. Houston didn't play last night. They still find themselves in the deficit right now of 2 games. They're in the American League West. We'll talk to Jim Duquette of MLB Network and Sirius XM Radio, as we always do there on our weekly visit with him, brought to you by Flatstick Pub, and get his thoughts on where the Mariners are at right now. We're going to talk a lot of Julio because, I think the thing with Julio is, I think in this town there is an expectation with him. I think he is held, to a huge standard, and I'm not saying that that's fair or unfair, but I always do wonder, I think, with him, how he is perceived there from a national audience. And are we because we are so close to it, Are we unfair, in essence, of how we are critical of him, praise him? What is it? Because you look at his numbers, what he's doing this year, and we're going to go over the numbers here with Duquette. You know, the numbers that he has put up, the company that he is joining, it's massive. It really is. And every time they have a game and the Mariners PR staff puts something new out just about what he has accomplished, I think you get kind of blown away about what he's been able to do this year. And I think as you sit back and you look at what he's been able to put together in his brief time in Major League Baseball, I think, you know, how he burst on the scene, his age, you know, I've talked about this a lot. When he came onto the scene as a rookie and he had the season that he had, it just felt like that was the baseline for him. And then every year was just going to get better and better and better. And we mentioned it many times, you know, it's that Mike Trout start to the career. And he didn't quite have that, but it hasn't been terrible. The slow starts, I think, cloud people in their view of him. But he has been phenomenal in the second half of the season, along with Jorge Polanco and a bunch of others. But it was a big win last night. They needed it. Didn't look it was going to be great early on, with Mikolas kind of shutting them down there for a while. And then they could not score because they haven't been good with runners in scoring position that fourth and fifth inning with the leadoff doubles. But they ended up getting the job done there. So we'll talk to Duquette about that one. About that storyline coming up. Also, Danny Kelly from The Ringer will join us as he always does on a Tuesday, talking all things football, fantasy football there as well. If you're on the YouTube chat and want to get any fantasy football questions in, send them in. I'll try to get as many as I possibly can in there for Danny, but we'll talk some fantasy football. We always do a week one recap. We'll do the headlines from the week one there in the National Football League and talk all things NFL. With Danny Kelly, which is brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. And then John Canzano stops on by around 11 o'clock or so as we do college football there with Canzano. We'll talk about the first 2 weeks there in the college football season. Talk about the Cougars' bounce back win there against, well, not bounce back win. They won the first game. Cougars and San Diego State. Washington's dominating performance against UC Davis. They got a bye week before they face Wazoo in the Apple Cup. And then we will talk also about Oregon and Oklahoma State, just a dominating performance, my God, that they put on, and just an ass whooping that they put on there on Oklahoma State. So all those things covered here on the Daily Punch Up, obviously. And we'll wrap up the show as we always do with Hey, What the Puck. But again, you go back to the Mariners and you think about what they did last night. And again, just maintaining this as they move forward, as the season is winding down, where every game is massively important there in the season. It was a great start there to the homestand. And now as they get ready to, as Houston starts a series today, I think Houston is with Toronto, I believe. So Houston will start a series with Toronto. And for Seattle right now, it's going to go down to the wire. As we've said before, it's just going to, you're going to go down the last week of the season. Last week. It's going to go to the last game. I just have this feeling that Dodgers series is going to be the series. And for some reason, they're going to have to win that damn game on Sunday. All right, let's talk all things baseball. Jim Duquette joins us every single week. He is our Puck Sports GM here, talking all things baseball. His weekly appearance is brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. And joining us as he does here on Tuesdays, it is Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM Channel 89. Follow him on social media, Jim Duquette GM, host of the Power Alley, which airs daily. The front office show with Jim Bowden on Sundays. Again, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Cougar owned and operated. 6 great locations across the state of Washington: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. They've got you covered for everything, especially large group events. Hi, how are you, Jim?
How we feeling over the last 3 days? Better than the 3 prior to that?
Yes. Well, I mean, and it was, that's the amazing thing about baseball, right? Is how much, a road trip that was kind of the road trip, not kind of was the road trip from hell. It turns around when you can finish off like that, win the final 2 games like they did there against the Atlanta Braves with the offense waking up.
I mean, that offense was unbelievable the last 2, right? And yeah, I think that, there's some concerns. Obviously, the first part of the road trip, there's concerns from the previous road trip too, and you go, okay, but like, I was just talking to AJ Hinch on my show, manager of the Tigers, and he has tried to set expectations not only within his own team but within the fan base. Like, listen, it doesn't even matter whether you win or lose that prior series. We're trying to win that day, and we're trying to win the next series. And the more you do that, the better chance you are going to end up where you want to be. And just trying to put that behind you, because it changes so fast. Like it was Saturday, it was Friday. You weren't feeling great about the team, and now all of a sudden today you feel good about them again. And it's not that long ago. We haven't gone through a rotation cycle, and you're feeling better about it. It just changes so fast, and that's the thing about this time of the year, especially now that they're at home. You get the Cardinals, and then you get the Angels coming in. Like, all right, let's go win those series. Obviously, you want to try to sweep, but just winning those series matters. And then you have to actually be thankful that during those struggles of that stretch, you didn't fall that far behind Houston either.
Well, that's the crazy thing about baseball, and especially because it's the everyday nature of it, the roller coaster ride for fans. And
that's
I think
the roller coaster.
Yeah, and it's the roller coaster ride of like you win, you're down on them one day, you're high on them the next day, and that's the fun thing about the sport, is that you can be so down on them one day, you can be like, oh my God, they're playing terrible, they're awful, and then the next day they can make it all up to you. That's what's great about it.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible, really, when you think about how it will change. It's kind of like our conversation earlier about Julio Rodriguez and how we were concerned in the first half, and we're not quite sure the kind of player he is, and all of those things, and then the way he's played here in the second half has been unbelievable. So, like, it just happens. That's what happens in our sport. I wouldn't change it for anything. I have learned over the years, though, trying to be, it's so much different than the NFL, as an example, where like, one game, really 10 games of baseball equals one of the NFL season. That's how long the baseball season is, so it's like, all right, if you could look at it as, oh, well, we just had a 10-game cycle. We were 6-4. That's pretty darn good. That's equal to 1 week normally of an NFL season.
Well, I don't know who you root for. I'm not sure who your the favorite team there of Jim Duquette is, but I'll just tell you out here, Seahawks fans, they lost in the first game against the Niners. I mean, people want to burn bridges down.
Right.
And they're going to stew on it for a whole week.
Listen, I'm a big more because I've lived here long in Maryland. I'm a Ravens fan here as of late. That game on Sunday night was an incredible game. They should have won it with 4 minutes left. It's one of the best games you're ever going to watch. Yeah. And then you're like, well, geez, the defense was terrible down the. How could they lose that game? And with the rival that is turned into the Bills and all of that. And then, okay, well, they have Cleveland this week, and now they're going to be 500 hopefully at the end of the weekend. That's what I kind of hang your hat on. And you're probably going to see the Bills again in the postseason.
All right, so you brought him up, and I wanted to talk about Julio with you this week, because I were kind of texting back and forth, and it's an interesting thing out here where I don't, and how I think a lot of us appreciate him, and then at the same time, I think there is this, underappreciating him as a ball player. I mean, he's, in the last few days, with the milestones that he's reached and records that he's reached, and numbers, I should say, not records, and the Mariners PR staff does a great job of highlighting this. There's 3 players with 25 plus home runs and stolen bases within the 4 seasons. It's him, Darryl Strawberry, and Bobby Bonds. I think we've talked about that one before.
Yeah.
Earlier this week, 7th center fielder with multiple 30 plus home runs at the age of 24 or younger. It's him, Mays, Mantle, Griffey, Andrew Jones, and Mike Trout. Currently, he's got the best, 10th best WAR in baseball, 8th best offensive WAR in baseball. If I ask Mariner fans if they think he's a top 5 player in baseball, they would say no. Maybe not everyone.
Right.
How does the national point of view opinion on Julio? What is that like when you view him from 2,000 plus miles away?
So I think the conversation always comes up about him being the high end potential. He hasn't really gotten to that point yet, mostly because his first halves have been just terrible. Reputation wise, we know what he can do defensively. We know he does power wise, hitting wise, all of those things. When what he's done in the second half, each of the last few years, is what you are waiting for him to put together for a full season. And I think that's the only thing that's been, held him back from being that top 5 player that you're talking about, or top 10 player in the sport. Is the length of the schedule in the season is how you're judged. And a lot of times we talk about this, it's usually not how you start, but how you finish. The problem is with Julio, this has gone on for so long. I think the other question I have just about him for this year is, as good as he's been, I was really surprised this morning when I was looking up what his home road splits are. So part of this, when it comes to the feeling locally, is, well, we get a chance every time we go and see him, he doesn't do much. I mean, it's not unreasonable. I mean, he's got a 641 OPS at home. In 935 OPS, that would be one of the tops in the game if he was able to go anywhere close to that at home. And so it makes me wonder, it comes up a lot of those conversations that we have about hitting there in that ballpark, and some of the batter's eyes issues and all those things that kind of come up on a regular basis when, prior to this year when we talked about the Mariners offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's his splits, you're right. And if you haven't peeked at them in a while, they are dramatic, home and away. And I mean, I just think, though, he doesn't embody everything that you want in a superstar player. I mean, he puts up the numbers. He's going to, again, consistent. He's going to put up the same numbers he puts up every single year at the end of the day. In fact, probably in some areas, they'll be better across the board. Charismatic, plays hard, all of the things. Do you think it's one where he plays too? Is it because of the slow starts? I think the slow starts to the season really do impact how a lot of people out here view him.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that, I've seen it happen the other way, where they have good first halves and mediocre second halves, so they end up with the same numbers, and you think that they've had a good season because he carried you for the early part of the season. The thing, where there's always players that end up, hey, you go, okay, at the end of the year, they're going to end up with their numbers. One of those guys used to be Justin Upton. If you went, and I remember talking to his manager in Atlanta there, Freddie Gonzalez was the manager. He's like, I know Justin Upton is going through a spell. You can just insert Julio in the same conversation, but he always at the end of the year ends up with his numbers. And it seems like that's the case, although last year really wasn't, with Julio. This year, 2 years ago, they were 30 and 100 guys. Like, if you look around the league, there aren't many guys who hit 30 home runs and drive in 100. Right. That makes him right out of the gate a top 15 player in the sport. And he plays center field, and he's good defensively, which, again, you look at center fielders who do what he does and ends up with those numbers in 2 of the last 3 years. You're not going to, you might find, I'm going to guess 3 or 4 that do it. So that instantly puts him as one of the top center fielders in the sport. And then you account for his age at 24. And, you feel like he's just tapping this, it's just the surface of what he's going to end up doing once he gets to his prime. We're not even talking about him getting to his prime, which is about the age 26 or so. Yeah. So I don't know. I still feel like the better Julio Rodriguez, as good as it's been, I think there's better Julio Rodriguez here in the future.
Do you think the criticism of him is unfair?
Well, so I'm not you. Some of the criticism I've heard you talk about what you hear fan wise and in the response. I think that's over the top. Like for me, I think he's been a very good player, um, and that has not been maybe as consistent as you would want. But I always have to put in the caveat of, boy, if I had a young player at this age, 24, and he's been on the scene now, this is his fourth full season, and he was putting up these type of numbers. I'd be trying to get the message out, from an organization standpoint, which sounds like they are from the PR side, like, hey, this guy's a really good player. And I think, and I do think, though, in fairness also to him, the entire offense until this year centered around him. It's a lot of responsibility. And yes, they gave him the money and all of that. That's a lot of responsibility for, one guy to handle the workload. Now he's got way more help contributions. Thank you, Cal. Thank you. Every other offensive guy that they have. Now they have Suarez. Now they actually have a legitimate offense. This is, if you had surrounded Julio with this type of offense over the last two seasons, I don't think the noise would be quite as loud, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, are there any parallels at all? Because I just think of looking from afar back to the East Coast and a team that you cover in the Mets. I think for me is in the first few months of the season, the narrative was, God, Juan Soto. It's just not good. It's not good with the Mets. They're struggling. He's struggling. Did they overpay? He's not living up to the superstar billing? You take a peek now and look where he's at numbers wise. I mean, his slash line, he's hitting 261. He's got an on base of 400. He's slugging 524. His OPS is 924. He's got 38 home runs, 93 runs driven in, 118 walks, and 29 stolen bases.
Right.
I mean, it's an unbelievable year what he's put together. Do you think? But again, comes the weight of expectations based on the enormous contract that he received.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other way around it. When you get that kind of money, it's going to come with huge expectations, and
Right.
some people can handle it and some can't. With Soto, it's a great point, because really, in not until the last month, 3
Right.
weeks, did he start to hit with runners in scoring position. So there was
Sure.
a knock where that batting average was in the 170s, so he was leaving a ton of guys on base. Now all of a sudden he went like 10 for 10 or 11 for 11 with runners in scoring position, and he's brought his average up like 50 points during that stretch. So the same I think with Julio, except for the fact Soto is he's 26, he's going to be 27, or I think he's just turning 27.
If he really is 26.
If he is, like there's a lot of rumors that he's a little bit older, but the number he's getting to, the number, his career OPS, I believe, is around 954. I think I remember looking at this. He's going to get there. He's got pretty darn close to getting there. And I feel like with Julio, like this year, his numbers are going to end up exceeding by a decent amount what he did last year. It's going to be closer to what he did in 2023. And I think he's going to continue to go, further in that direction, moving forward. He just has to figure out, we went through a lot of conversation last year about his winter program. What is he going to do to get himself ready, going before spring training, so that he could have a better, first half. Whatever he did last year, it didn't work. He's gonna have to readjust that, moving forward. But right now, you ride out what he's been doing, because it's been incredible.
Yeah, just to finish up that Julio thing, he's probably not going to get stolen bases. He's got 25 now, 37 in year two, but he's got a chance to hit. His 103 RBIs has been his career high so far. He's got 90 right now, 32 home runs. He's got 30. So yeah, he's got a chance to eclipse at least some of those marks there for Julio. All right, I want to pivot now to the American League and looking at just the teams that right now as we are talking on September 9th, the teams that are in the playoffs are the Blue Jays, and I'm just talking American League. Yep. I think I said that. Blue Jays, Tigers, Yankees, Red Sox, Astros, Mariners. And we'll save the Mariners to the end. I want you to make a case for each one of them, because this is wide open to me.
It is.
A case for each one of these teams to win the World Series, or at least win the pennant. Let's just say win the pennant.
Sure.
Okay. Let's start first with the Blue Jays. Tell me why they win the pennant.
I think with them, their starting rotation and their offense have been so consistently good all year that I think that and their defense as well, I think they can overcome some of the lapses that they've had in their bullpen by taking a starter and moving them into the bullpen. So I think they're able to overcome it, and that's what I think I appreciate the most with them, in their chances.
Do you think they're the most complete team?
I think that when I look at it, I have them. If I were to rank the American League teams, I have them in the second tier.
Okay, Tigers 82 and 62, red hot. But now they've fallen a half game back of Toronto for the top overall record of the American League. Make a case for the Tigers.
I have some question marks with their rotation outside of Scooble, but I think they have, like, Flaherty's a guy that's pitched in the postseason before and with experience, and I think Casey Mize is starting to trend in the right direction. So that would look a little different, I believe, in another 3 weeks. Their bullpen is really good. Their offense is a lot better than you realize. Some of these numbers in the platoon splits, but their manager is so good at matching up guys. He's got a different lineup with lefties and righties, and he guided them to, the DS last year with a subpar roster. His roster is way different this year, so I think they have a legit chance.
All right, New York Yankees.
They're playing much better here now that they're healthier. The bullpen's healthier. It's deeper. Some of the issues they were having earlier was, it looks like it's settled. Rotation's better than you think. They've started to figure some things out here as of late. They're going to push Toronto for the division. Their experience, what they did in the postseason last year, I think their offense is better. They have some hiccups on the defensive side on occasion. There are some things that will bother you or annoy you if you're a Yankees fan, but it's a really good team. I think they're one of the two teams in the American League that are, rosters are pretty well rounded.
What about give me one of the biggest surprises this year has been the Red Sox, 80 and 65. Make a case for the Boston Red Sox.
I mean, the Red Sox, my biggest concern with them now is their young hitter Roman Anthony is injured, and they haven't looked the same without him. And they traded Devers, and so now they're down at least 2 bats. They've had Abreu that's been out too. So that offense isn't quite the same. They make mistakes defensively, but their pitching has been really good. They're starting and bullpen. I mean, Chapman still hasn't given up a run since I think the end of July. Something ridiculous. I mean, he's been on a tear. So, they have, I think, exceeded some of the expectations. But and I think they're getting in. Looks like, but I have some concerns about their offense.
Yeah, for sure. And what is the update on Anthony?
I haven't heard anything like where he's going to be back in the next week or two. It sounded like they were looking at a 4 to 6 week recovery, and Alex Cora told Anthony, "We'll see you in the second round of the postseason."
Okay, so postseason hopes there for Roman Anthony. All right, Houston Astros, who have dominated the American League West.
Houston's offense has been the worst in the league since August 1st. I can't even believe how bad it's been. And this is with Alvarez back, mostly because the bottom of the lineup is short. They're healthier on the starting pitching side. They're a little healthier on the bullpen side. They'll get Hader back, it looks like. So, and they're just their experience, what they, every year people count them out and they're there, and the fact that they're still in first place in the American League West has me scratching my head. I don't know how they've done it. But they have, and I think that's their biggest strength is they're there so often that nothing seems to phase them when they have the injuries that look like they would take down any other team. They're still standing.
All right, so the team that the team right behind them, 2 games out, are Seattle Mariners. Jim Duquette, tell us, how can they win it?
They and the Yankees have the best overall roster in the American League. They're the most well-rounded, between starting pitchers, bullpen, and offense. And I don't think there's any debate among the people that I talk to at the national level that the Mariners roster isn't one of the best. I just went through this whole assignment on my show, and the two rosters that stand out in the American League: Yankees, Mariners, and that makes it even worse if they don't make it. But I think they're going to make it. To me, it's whether they can win the division or not, and it's, I think, going to come down to, can they get consistent starting pitching, which I'm still kind of surprised that we're saying that here with how good the rotation has been over the past couple, but that's the way it has been this year. And I still think, though, that they're going to, the get through some of the inconsistencies that we've seen on occasion. But I think they're going to win the division, and I think they're going to be sitting there at the end of the postseason, looking at this going, wow, they have a chance to be in the World Series. They just got to get to the postseason.
You kind of touched on it there, but what stands in their way from not accomplishing that?
A little bit of the inconsistency in that rotation. I mean, every offense is going to go through, ups and downs. I think, the one thing I haven't really seen, it goes with any teams. Like, all right, well, how do you hit postseason pitching when you're facing everybody's best? How are you going to hit that, on a nightly basis? Because the teams who normally do that pitch and then also have that well-rounded offensive unit are the ones that usually end up in the World Series. It's not even necessarily over time. It hasn't been the hottest team.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of teams limp into the postseason. How about the Texas Rangers a couple years ago? And they had to play every game on the road. Like, that's just, the Diamondbacks that same year. So it's just about getting in. If and when they get in, they have all of the components that you look for in a World Series team.
There he is, Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio Sirius XM Channel 89, at Jim Duquette GM on social media, host of the Power Alley, which airs daily on Sirius XM. Also, the Front Office Show, Jim Bowden, on Sundays. It's all brought to you by Flat Stick Pub, Cougar owned and operated. They got 6 great locations across the state: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. They got you covered for everything. Guys night, date night, ladies night, large group event. Go watch the Mariners at Flat Stick Pub, flatstickpub.com. Thank you, Jim. Wonderful visit as always, and we'll see you next Monday.
Sounds good. Talk to you next Monday.
There he is, Jim Duquette, with us on Mondays, talking all things baseball. Says the Mariners and Yankees, the two best rosters there in the American League, and he expects the Seattle Mariners to catch the Houston Astros and win the American League West. For the love of God, make it happen. God. All right, we transition from baseball. We talk a little NFL, fantasy football, and, of course, all of our football coverage, NFL coverage, here on Puck Sports and the Daily Puck Drop, brought to you by the one and only. Listen, it's not football coverage without beer. And we are brought to you by the greatest brewery in all of the universe, Georgetown Brewery. We're going to talk to Danny Kelly, but first, a word from one of our great sponsors, Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
And the joke never gets old, Danny Kelly. Nothing describes us better than cheap and local. And Danny Kelly from The Ringer. Why am I going to Oprah? I don't know.
I appreciate that, though. Makes me feel special.
Danny Kelly. We talk football, all things NFL with Danny Kelly. Danny B. Kelly. There on social media at The Ringer, senior staff writer. Ringer Fantasy Football Show. Ringer NFL Draft Show. Fantasyfootball.ringer.com. And again, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, our NFL coverage. Makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodhisattva, Rogers Pilsner, Georgetown's new tavern beer. Tasting room and beer garden open daily from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit georgetownbeer.com. Check out Danny's work wherever you find your podcast platforms, and also on YouTube. Latest shows, they've got the post Monday night show, Bears and Vikings, which included their week 2 waiver pickups, their week 1 recap show that comes out on Sunday nights, the Power Hour on Wednesdays, and then the football preview show on Fridays. How are you?
That was incredible prelude there. That was great.
How was week 1 of the NFL season for Danny Kelly? How's your ass feeling?
It was great. Definitely Sunday was long time sitting. I did some squats like in between the morning and afternoon games, and that helped. Good. I think so. Yeah. Definitely recommend that. Kind of demoralizing from a Seahawks point of view.
Oh, kind of.
That kind of ruined my Sunday a little bit. Otherwise, it was pretty fun. The Sunday night football game was really fun. So, it wasn't all bad, but I allowed myself to hope, and I'm mad at myself for that.
How about that new offense, huh?
Yeah,
man, that was woo.
Let me perfectly just encapsulate what we saw. Same old shit.
Oh,
like it just felt like every other Seahawks game we've watched in the last 5 years. No motion, no play action, frustrating run game, frustrating game plan, turnovers in the key moments. I don't know. It was just so frustrating from start to finish. Basically, there was a few nice moments. JSN looked awesome.
Yeah.
Charbonnet ran well, but otherwise it was just, man, it was tough.
Too soon to bring Grubb back.
I'm willing to give Kubiak some grace here and let him figure it out, but it reminds me so much. First there was Waldron, then there was Grubb, where there were moments, things looked really good. There was things to be really excited about. I remember early in the Waldron days, there was a game, I think it was against the Colts, and I did a cut up of all the misdirection they were doing, all the play action. It was incredible. It was so beautiful to watch. And then we just didn't really see that consistently for the rest of the time. So I'm just really hoping they can get it figured out. I saw this stat. I think my buddy Jacob Gibbs pointed this out. Seahawks were the only team in the NFL this week that did not have a play where they did play action and motion in the same play. So basically there was not much misdirection. They ran play action very few times in this game. It was just bizarre. I don't understand it. This is what we were supposed to be. This is the type of offense we were sold was coming to Seattle. I heard this take. You tell me what you think. Clint Kubiak got all in his head because he's playing his old buddy Kyle Shanahan, who he's probably I think they've probably known each other since they were kids.
Sure.
He just got in his head and tried to get too cute and tried to do change up curveball. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything there, but I think it's a fun.
I don't know. It just was weird. Yeah, it wasn't what you expected. You come out of the preseason, and again, I know someone's gonna. It was preseason. I get it, but God, they looked so good in preseason. How they ran the football and all of it, and the physicality of it, and under center and all that. And then the week 1, you're like, okay, where'd that all go? It just was. It was all gone. There was no. I mean, for all this hype about Torrey Horton, the guy he'd got 1 target.
Mm-hmm.
Not 1 target. The tight end, Zoroya, nothing. I mean, I think he had 1 target.
Yeah, 1 target. Yeah.
Catch. And then got on the drive that you scored. I'm excited what Ken Walker's going to look like. That drive was all Charbonnet.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like to me that they feel that Charbonnet's their best back and not Ken Walker for this offense. And what worries me the most, but has worried me, it's not just a reaction to the game. What worries me the most, and because people know that have been, the 3 people that watch and listen to this will know, I am really down on these wide receivers. I just think it is JSN, and that's it.
Well, the numbers certainly bore that out. I think I've never seen a game where a receiver is the only guy in the offense. Basically, they did not have anything from anyone else. Cooper Kupp dropped his only important target on a 3rd down there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it was
thanks a lot, Cooper. You really,
JSN had a 70% target rate or something ridiculous. It was just
the only guy he would throw to. He was the only guy that he ever threw the ball to.
Yeah. So I just don't, obviously for fantasy, that's fun. JSN could have a big year. If that carries on. But I think for, winning games, it's not a good way to go about it. You have to spread the ball around. You have to be dynamic and give the defense, surprise them. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like they were doing anything surprising to the 49ers. I think, Darnold made a few really nice throws. Obviously that turnover at the end was really unfortunate. But man, the offense was really frustrating. Do you want to talk about something nice? Because I thought the defense played pretty well.
They played great, but boy, I'm going to tell you right now, I know it was aided by a penalty, but I'm watching all off season, I'm hearing about how top 5 they're going to be great and all this, and then the Niners get the ball the first series and they're just shoving it down their goddamn throat all the way down the field. But yes, they recovered quite nicely after that and played well. I mean, they played well enough to win the game for sure.
They pressured the hell out of Brock Purdy. They picked him off twice.
Yeah.
That last drive when they gave up the touchdown was a little fluky, I think, just because of, number one, the double clutch or whatever you call it, the hesitation that Rick Wallen had on that deep ball was a huge flub. It was basically a coverage bust. So he has a coverage bust, and then this Luke Tonges guy, or Jake Tonges, who's never caught a fucking pass in his career, and he's been in the league for like 3 or 4 years.
He was like Dwight Clark out there on the touchdown.
Just makes the most incredible catch. He goes in front of Rick Wallen, which again, it's unfortunate this guy got beat twice on the same drive, but
what was he doing?
Jumps in front of him, and then he catches it, and then it falls in between his legs, and he catches it with his knee. It was just the most improbable finish to this game. So I'm trying to give the Seahawks defense a little bit of grace, because up until that point, they held the 49ers to 10 points.
Yeah.
They played really well. They were pressuring, they were bringing heat from different areas, creating turnovers. They shut the run game down for the most part. Christian McCaffrey had a whole bunch of carries to get to what he did. So, I think the positives coming out of that game is I thought the defense was as advertised, other than, obviously they gave up that.
Leonard Williams was active early on. He was getting in there. Yeah.
And honestly, and I thought that the 49ers got a few calls that went their way in key moments, and that was kind of the story of the game. And the Seahawks offense couldn't capitalize. So, I do feel pretty good about the Seahawks defense, even with the end of game flubs. Basically, those I thought were more fluky than indicative of the Seahawks being bad. That was my takeaway is the defense looks great. Offense, unfortunately, is exactly what I thought it would be after they traded away Geno Smith and after they traded away DK Metcalf. I allowed myself to be talked into this during the preseason when I'm like, oh, this run game looks fun. They could do all kinds of stuff with play action.
You're pro Geno. Are you pro Geno?
Yeah, I'm pro Geno.
Well, because he certainly.
How'd you like the 350 yards that he threw against the Patriots?
Yeah, he certainly looked a lot better than the old Ginger 14 did.
Yeah, and DK Metcalf looked pretty good in his game. I don't know. I stand by my offseason analysis was they got worse on offense. And
I
think they did.
Yeah, I missed DK Metcalf. I did not want to get rid of DK Metcalf, even though that the whole DK Metcalf of how much do you sign him to? Is he really in and all that? I think that was warranted. I talked about it a lot with Garofolo, but once you get rid of someone like that, they just had no one else on the roster. There's no one else.
There's no one that's remotely as explosive as him.
Because JSN is a great is very good, but he's not that. He's not outside number one guy.
Yeah,
that's just not who he is.
It's not what that's not, I think, where he's going to be set up for the most success.
Right.
And I think in a league like the way that defenses play right now, where a lot of it is sort of too high, keep everything in front, rally to the football, tackle everything, the reaction to Mahomes passing for 50 whatever touchdowns a couple of years ago. I think you have to have guys that can create explosive plays on their own. You can't just expect scheme to do it all. And that's what I thought DK Metcalf, at least he brought the ability, and we saw this in the Steelers game. At least he brings the ability to catch a pass and run away from some defenders.
Sure.
So, I think Torrey Horton has the potential to be that guy eventually, but obviously this is his first game. But
at least throw him a ball.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that would be great.
Target him one time.
Yeah. But this is I said it earlier. Same old story. The Seahawks were awful on third down. Their time of possession was atrocious. It just felt like watching the same old Seahawks offense. That's just so frustrating to watch from the last couple of years.
There should have been an image or a meme of just the body of Kubiak, but with all the different heads coming out. Waldron, Grubb. Who are we missing? Jeremy Bates, that's such a long time ago. Bevel, just all of them. Shoddy. Oh, yeah. Schottenheimer. I'm all coming out.
I just want, here's what I want. And I did not get this whatsoever in this first game. I want the Seahawks offense to have an identity. Whatever it is, for better or for worse, have a discernible identity. And I don't think they had that at all. And that's why I was excited about them in the preseason. Is it was like, we know what they are. They're wide zone. They're going to run the hell out of the ball. They're going to boot out and play action, throw the ball deep, create explosives that way. That's who they want to be, and that's what they're going to be. And then we didn't see any of that in this game, so it was very frustrating.
And then they're running the same offense that two other teams run in the division.
Right. Yeah, so I don't know.
They're like Niners Rams light.
Yeah. They're, do you ever see the movie Multiplicity back in the day where they're making copies of clones and copies of the dumber, like the more copies you make, the dumber they get. Yeah,
so we have the dumb We Is that what you're saying? We have dumb Shanahan and dumb McVay.
Well, I'm not saying that, but it's possible.
Yeah. Well, and here's the deal. Anyone that is, and he wasn't the reason they lost, but anyone that was reluctant with maybe like you with Sam Darnold, like that performance didn't do anything to squash that.
No, because I think the story on Darnold has always been talented, physically talented, big arm, aggressive mindset, will pass the ball down the field, will make some of the best throws you've ever seen. But also there's the bad plays. You know what I mean? And that's like earlier on his career, the bad plays were much more common. Sure. He's kind of cleaned it up. But this was, to me, just like a perfect example of.
He didn't have too many. I'm just trying to think back. Was there a bad throw he got away with? Am I missing something
in this last game?
Yeah. Was there something he like? Was there a throw? And you're like, that's bad Darnold. I can't think.
No, I'm just thinking of the fumble there in the end of the game.
Yeah, but he gets pushed back. I mean, are we gonna?
It was kind of fluky again, but yeah, I think he was solid in this game. 16 to 23, 150 yards. But obviously not what you're hoping for. And then at the end there, he turned it over. So,
well, they better win this week. I was reading, I saw this in the story there by the one and only Mr. Hoodie, Bob Condot of the Times, that he had found this on oddshark.com, which is just the greatest website name of all time.
Oh yeah.
If they lose to the Steelers, it may be time to freak out, Danny Kelly.
Because of the odds of making the playoffs?
Correct. Only 7 of the 54 teams in the last 7 years that started 0-2 made the playoffs.
7 out of 54. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they lose, it's time to start the Fire McDonald chant.
I don't know. Here's the deal. I actually still have a lot of faith in McDonald. It kind of made me happy that
it was just joking.
He seemed very pissed about what the offense did in the presser. I don't know if you saw this. There's a clip that's been circulating where
it was like last year with Grubb. It was kind of felt like the same thing.
100%, same exact. Like, yeah, we need more motion. We need more play action, and we're gonna do it. But
But can I say, I'm raising my hand. I don't know why I'm raising my hand.
You can talk. Yeah,
it's the same stuff that drove me bonkers. And when you're 49, you can use the word bonkers. With Carroll, you're the head coach.
Right.
Get into the headset of the coordinator and tell him what you want.
Fair. That's fair.
I used to hate that with Carroll. Well, we run the ball more. Well, you're on the sideline. Tell him, run the ball more.
Tell him. I think there is. Well, I can't speak for McDonald on this, but I'm guessing there is a little bit of a feeling where you want to give the offense coordinator enough leeway to kind of like figure it out themselves. It's like, but I don't know. I agree with you though. Like in a game like this, we should have had a lot more play action, a lot more misdirection. It's just like 2 easy button things that you can do to make it easier on your offense.
And what I didn't like from this team on Sunday, they cost me $50. I didn't need to see Jalen Milroe third play of the game.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Because I had a bet with Jim. It's like, he's only going to come in the red zone. I'm an idiot. I didn't think they would use him in between like the 30s. And third play of the game, there goes my $50. So they throw him in there, they run their little gadget, and then that's it.
This is the last time we saw him.
So you activated him for one play in the third play of the game? That seemed odd.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, because I think the idea, what was it? Was it a third down when they ran him? Or I don't even remember the context.
I can't remember what down it was.
Let's see here. It was the third. It was a 2nd and 6.
second and 6.
So
Second and
it's
6.
bizarre.
They felt like so excited to run their little new toy out there, and they couldn't wait to do it. And Clint Kubiak was up all night, like just twiddling with his fingers. Oh, they're not going to wait till they see Milroe in the third play of the game.
I mean, like you said, this is in the script. Like they planned this out from the beginning. They practiced it. They put it in the install. On second and 6, run up the middle for 1 yard. And that's the last we saw of him. I thought they were going to use him kind of in the same way that the Steelers used Justin Fields last year, where it's on third downs, and we want to give the defense a different look and, force them to defend the run and the quarterback run and change everything up. That's where you utilize him. So I don't know. That was bizarre. What did you think of the decision to kick the field goal versus go for it on 4th and down late in the game?
I didn't have a problem with it. I don't think Purdy was doing anything. I thought the defense was playing well. I understand his mindset right there. The kicker had missed he'd been a disaster. One blocked, one missed. Didn't have a lot of confidence. Hey, you get the lead. I think our defense has played well. And up until that point, they were doing a great job. So I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. It irked me in the moment, but I think the further I get away from it, especially after listening to McDonald explain, because you know what I mean? Like, at least he had a solid explanation for why he made the decision. He talked about, he's like, our model actually had us a go in that situation, but based on this, and this, and this, like, we decided. I'm like, okay, I can live with that. The fact that you actually thought through it and had a process, I'm fine with it. But in the moment, I was like, man, this is going to come back to bite them. And sure enough, it did.
It did.
Yeah.
I have a listener who has deemed him Mannequin Mike, and he does an impression of him, and it's great. It's just because he's just like a mannequin.
Yeah, he's very
vanilla, very dull.
Yeah. He's not giving you anything.
But I guess if they were going to go for it, wouldn't that be the time to use Milroe?
Yeah. I want them to use Milroe as a tush push. Why can't they do a tush push? Didn't they do that in the preseason once? Yeah,
they did against Kansas City. I kind of was expecting that on that 4th down play if they were going to go for it.
Yeah, man. Overall, wanted something different, got a lot of the same, and that was a bummer.
And then the guy that you're all hyped up about during training camp and the draft is Eamon Worry, and then he
like third play or second play.
Yeah. Bummer. And I'm gonna go to the grave to this. Everyone's saying, hey, it's when a player fell on him. I'm telling you, if you watch it again, I swear it's when he's celebrating. He gets up and jumps over the player, and I think that's when he does it.
Act of God. You just never know when these things can happen.
That's a bummer. And so it sounds like a high ankle sprain, and he could be out for a bit. All right, so Steelers and Seahawks on Sunday.
Man.
The DK Metcalf revenge game. How bad do you think he wants this one?
Oh, man.
God.
It would be nice if Reek Wallen had a little more confidence going into this game. Yeah, because I don't know how they're going to end up defending.
Here's what I'll tell you. I have an idea for this.
Yeah.
I think you steal the playbook from the San Francisco 49ers.
And
I think now most teams don't do this anymore. Like it's gone the way of Deion Sanders. I would take Devin Witherspoon.
Just rile him up.
And I would say you get him all game long.
Yeah. Just do the
and every time he comes off the line of scrimmage, you hit him and you talk shit to him on every play. Because you know what's going to happen? We all know what's going to happen.
Retaliation.
Of course. He's going to swing. He's going to do something stupid because, and I love DK, he cannot help himself.
You got to bait him.
He cannot help himself.
I think this is a really good plan.
Yes. It's like, I'm telling you that I can send it over to the coaching staff.
Send it over.
Full credit
Send a memo.
to McDonald.
Yeah.
Devin Witherspoon lines up across from him on every play, jams him, and then just in his ear the whole game.
I'm into
stupid earrings, your stupid hair that you have, that you color every week, your stupid outfits, all of it. Just, oh, you want to be a chef when you're done? Fuck that, man. I mean, just all of it. Just in his face.
Yeah. I think that's a good plan.
Yeah.
And I think it will work.
Well, Danny, if they don't do that, he's going to have 160 yards and like 3 touchdowns. You know what's happening.
Yeah. I don't feel, after watching the Steelers win that game this last week, I don't feel as good about this game as I used to. Aaron Rodgers looks a little more spry than I was expecting.
Yeah,
a little bit better than I was expecting. Although their defense really didn't look awesome. So
Jets ran it on them a bit.
Yeah.
That was kind of the week one headlines, I think, coming out from, at least from my perspective of coming out of week one, was one, he looked good.
Mm-hmm.
He looked kind of revitalized, did Aaron Rodgers, with those 4 touchdowns. So yeah, they could be a problem. He just, no one has ever doubted his talent, Danny. It's just whether or not he was, can kind of keep it together, especially off the field.
Yeah.
For Aaron Rodgers.
Seahawks playing in Pittsburgh. Going back to 2006, they've only played 7 times. Mm-hmm. They've won twice. I don't love playing in Pittsburgh at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, no. I just don't like playing there in general.
Yeah. It's a tough draw.
It's a tough draw, just tough physicality, and they always kind of bring it there in Pittsburgh. All right, what other week one headlines stood out to you? We got San Francisco's deal now with injuries after that game, Kittle and Brock Purdy. You got that. You got Pete's, debut with the Raiders. Geno's strong game. What else kind of stood out to you in your week one observations?
Obviously the Jets being good on offense and Justin Fields being good, I thought was a really interesting storyline. The Dolphins being horrific was another one, because obviously for a fantasy I was hoping to see Tua get back to his previous self, or just passing really quickly and getting the ball out and having his receivers do everything. That did not happen. And let's see, the Packers look pretty dominant. I picked them to win the Super Bowl, and I think I was worried it was a prisoner of the moment thing because they traded for Micah Parsons, and after seeing that game I was like, okay, yeah, that was a big trade for them. Their defense swarmed the Lions, absolutely shut them down. So that was really interesting. And then, of course, the Ravens-Bills game, all-time barn burner. I don't know you can take from that other than, man, we're lucky to be able to watch these quarterbacks in their prime. You know what I mean? Just be glad.
And I want one. I just want one.
Yeah, this is the other thing is there's a handful of teams. I feel like even though Mahomes is Mahomes and who he is and the best quarterback, the number one guy you would choose to start a franchise with, I understand that. When you watch Josh Allen, when you watch Lamar Jackson, just being a fan of a different team, that's a hard situation. You know what I mean? Those, I want that guy on my team. That would be the funnest thing I can imagine.
I just want a game changer on offense.
Yeah.
That plays the quarterback position.
Yep.
I don't want a game manager. I don't want, if everyone else around him is good, that he's good. I want a guy that they look when they game plan, they go, shit.
Superhero.
Yeah. I want a superhero. Yeah. Damn right. That's what I want.
Yeah. So that I think, just again, we got to appreciate where we are. We can't look past these games and talk about, who blew the game or whatever. It's just man, watching those two guys play is so fun.
All right. Before you go, give me some guys and some fantasy football advice. So week 2 waiver pickups. You guys talked about this on the fantasy football show. You guys do this on Mondays where you talk about week 2 waiver pickups. Who are some players out there that may still be available that people should look at and pick up?
I think you got to look at the Browns running back situation. Dylan Sampson ended up catching 8 passes in that game, and we don't know when Quinshon Judkins is going to be back. It could be a month or 2 until they really work him into the offense. So Dylan Sampson looks like a good pickup. With Tank Bigsby being traded to the Eagles, Bashal Tutin and LaQuint Allen, 2 rookies, suddenly become pretty interesting. Obviously, this is great for Travis Etienne, but grabbing one of his backups is probably a good idea at this point. At receiver, Cedric Tillman for the Browns and Harold Fannin for the Browns. Both, I recognize that I'm recommending 3 Browns players here, which maybe not the best, but the
hotbed of fantasy football, Cleveland.
Joe Flacco, I think he can still spin it. He's still out there able to provide a floor in fantasy, which I like and appreciate.
Hey, did anybody else notice Shedeur Sanders wearing sunglasses on the sideline?
I did not see that. Do you have a problem with that?
It's just on brand.
Now I'm trying to remember, do players not normally wear sunglasses? I guess not. I don't know.
No, not really. Whatever. All right.
I'm not even thinking about that right now. Quentin Johnston for the Chargers looked pretty awesome, and Hollywood Brown, Kayshon Boutte for the Patriots. I think all those guys are solid pickups. And then, like I said, Harold Fannin for the Browns, one of the most productive tight ends in college football history, literally led the country last year in catches among all players, not just tight ends. He came in and immediately was like a starter for the Browns. He's essentially their wide receiver 3. So I think, I think people did not know what to expect from Harold Fannin, and he is a high priority add at this point just because he's going to be playing 75% of snaps. He led the team in targets. He also got a rush attempt. They have a clear plan to utilize him going forward. So he would be one of the top guys on my list.
There he is, Danny Kelly, at Danny B. Kelly on social media, Ringer, fantasy football show, the Ringer NFL Draft Show, senior staff writer at the Ringer. And we talk all things NFL, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. And check out all the shows on all the podcast platforms and YouTube. Power Hour comes out Wednesday, correct? And then the preview show comes out on Friday. And you can find it on all podcast platforms?
You can. All podcast platforms and on YouTube.
Okay. All right, Danny. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you as always.
All right. Thank you.
There he is, Danny Kelly, as we talk NFL, some fantasy football, Seahawks and Steelers coming up on Saturday, the revenge game for DK Metcalf. All right, we switch gears. Now we go over to college football. John Canzano joins us every single week to talk college football. Before we talk to John, let's get a word from a fabulous sponsor. Of course, that would be Flat Stick Pub. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. And John Canzano joins us now. JohnCanzano.com, talking all things college football. You can follow him on X at John Canzano BFT, host of the Bald Face Truth down there in Portland, Oregon. 7:50 the game from 3 to 6 p.m. And our coverage brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. Boy, great segment there with Danny B. Kelly.
Oh, well, thank you. Who doesn't love football? Who doesn't love fantasy football? Who doesn't love football in general? And it's all here. September is the busy schedule. Football, NFL, college, baseball. Hey, big day. I didn't know this until someone pointed out to me yesterday. It was all over my timeline. Right now, about an hour ago, right? Pac-12 and Mountain West, a hearing taking place. Give us the latest. What's going on?
Yeah. People may know the Pac-12 and the Mountain West don't like each other, and there are multiple lawsuits, but the biggest lawsuit filed by the Pac-12 is a $55 million poaching penalty lawsuit that stems from the scheduling agreement that was signed in front of the 2024 season. The Pac-12 obviously overpaid for a bunch of football games. The Mountain West inserted a clause in there that said, okay, you can't take any of our schools if we're going to sign this agreement, and here's the penalty. It amounts to about $55 million for the schools that left the Mountain West that are going to join the Pac-12. The Pac-12 later came back and said, hey, look, that was unlawful. That's an antitrust violation. There is a motion to dismiss that lawsuit that is being reviewed right now. It started at 10 a.m. The hearing is in Northern District Court in California. It's in San Jose, California. There's a judge that is an intellectual property judge who is the nerdiest of all nerdy judges, who is sitting on the bench today for this hearing. And she will rule whether or not this case should go forward. Of course, the Mountain West is hoping that the judge says, yeah, we grant your motion to dismiss. But I'm being told, Puck, there are 4 possible outcomes, okay? Most likely outcome is the judge listens today and says, I'll take all of this under advisement, and then goes back into chambers and spends a few days mulling over how to write this out and how to rule. So we might not get a resolution, about a 75% chance that we're going to just get the motion, the sides made their arguments and then the judge is thinking about it.
Sure.
And then comes out maybe in a week or 5 days with a ruling. There is a chance that the judge could say, I deny the motion. I've heard the arguments. I've reviewed this case. You don't make a compelling argument. I've read the briefs. This case is going to move forward. If that is true, the Pac-12 is going to celebrate, do a cartwheel, and be in a huge position of leverage moving forward. The third option, not good for the Pac-12, but great for the Mountain West, would be that the judge goes, hey, I'm going to dismiss this case. We're granting the motion to dismiss. The Mountain West would declare victory. Of course, the Pac-12 would appeal. And then the fourth is that the judge could also say, look, I'm going to grant the motion to dismiss for now, but I would like the Pac-12 to go back and create, like, close some holes in their argument and then resubmit the case. So I'm told that is kind of an outlier possibility that could happen here. Most of the legal people I talked with and the people who stayed at a Holiday Inn Express say that they believe that the judge is going to probably take it under advisement and then come out in a few days and say, I'm not granting the motion to dismiss. But this is a huge pivot point in these settlement discussions and with these two conferences and the fight going on.
And then if it goes in the favor of the Pac-12, what is the ripple effect? And if it goes against them, what's the same question? What's the
if it goes against the Pac-12, they're just gonna, they'll appeal it, but they would ultimately owe $55 million in poaching penalties to the Mountain West. It would be a big victory for the Mountain West. They can turn around and give that money to UNLV. They live to play another day. If the case goes forward and the judge says, no, we're not going to dismiss this lawsuit, I want to hear more about this antitrust violation that the Pac-12 is alleging, then it goes to discovery. Now, I am told that this is going to cause a flurry of settlement discussions because everybody's going to evaluate what the risks are after the judge makes this ruling. And then it's a potential here that in the next week or two, we could get a settlement that is very much, what everyone can live with. If it ultimately goes into discovery, I am also told that there's a risk here for the Mountain West that the Pac-12 uncovers something in discovery that would give them an additional amendment to the lawsuit where they could seek penalties. And one lawyer did tell me, Puck, that, look, the normal fee to play Colorado State or to play San Diego State or Wyoming costs you about $500,000 if you're Oregon State and Washington State to normally get those games. The Mountain West charged them $2 million. So if they can prove that, look, they went above and beyond to kind of hold us in this uncomfortable position, that's $1.5 million per game. There were 12 games that they signed on to do. I'm told by the attorney that the Pac-12 could ask for triple damages. So they could ask for triple the 1.5 million times 12 and come away with a fat check. And that's a real risk for the Mountain West because that's the kind of money that puts them out of business, Puck.
Yeah. And then does that open the door UNLV, or is that UNLV door closed?
I think the UNLV door is mostly shut, but I'm not going to say never, because if the money's not there, the $20 million plus that the Mountain West promised UNLV, the money's not there. And the Pac-12 can say, hey, look, you don't have the money there. You have a better TV deal here. We'll sweeten the pot with 10 or 15 million that we thought we were going to end up paying for a poaching penalty. I think there becomes a real chance that UNLV could jump. I don't think there's a never say never situation. I did talk to some UNLV donors. I think they're a little delusional on how they might be invited to the Big 12, or they might, they're lining themselves up for what's next. They don't, there's a real sentiment in that fan base that they don't need the Pac-12 as a stepping stone. But I think they're a little delusional. I think, if I'm UNLV, I want to get in the best possible position that I can get in for whatever comes next.
All right, let's switch over to the games. A game that was, it wasn't a great schedule last week. A highly anticipated game was, I think everyone thought that Oregon was going to win and probably win by, a lot. Maybe not that much, but was obviously the comments back and forth between Gundy and Dan Lanning. And then Dan Lanning and Oregon they put it to Oklahoma State. Put it to him. And Dan Lanning obviously and clearly, John, wanted to send a message to him. Yeah.
He literally said in the pregame talk to his team, he's like, let's show them who we are. They don't know the work. They don't know the sacrifice. They're cowboys. They're going to saddle up. He goes, we're the bull. The bull don't care. He's got that vein going in his neck like he had before the Colorado game, And so they're just going to seize on anything, like any team would do, any kind of disrespect that they can perceive, even though we know it's an extreme reach. We know what Mike Gundy was saying. Gundy was saying, hey, I need money. T. Boone Pickens died in 2019. We don't have him anymore, and we're up against a better version of that with Oregon in the Big Ten and Phil Knight on board, just, funneling $1 billion to Oregon. So, there are haves and have-nots. Oklahoma State now finds itself at the bottom of the Power Four. And it used to not be. It was towards the middle of the Power Four. And with T. Boone Pickens, they certainly had a chance to compete. That's a bad Power Four team. And so Oregon just took it to them. I mean, you could tell there was blood in the water. Oregon wanted to send a message. Oregon's leaning heavily into the idea that they invest in football. They're not shying away from the idea that they have more money than anybody else because they know they can't defend that.
Hey, John, how much are they spending?
Well, they're $20.5 million, and they're at the max with revenue sharing, and 80% of that is going to football.
Okay.
So beyond that, you look at the athletic department budget at Oregon. Last fiscal year, that budget was $150 million. Okay, that put them among the college football playoff quarterfinal teams. It put Oregon at about 6th. Okay, and it's interesting to look at spending. Ohio State was 1, Texas was 2, Penn State was 4. Those are 3 of the 4 semifinal teams. Notre Dame's a private school. We don't have the numbers on them, but the top 3 of the top 4 schools that are spending end up in the semifinals. I mean, this is not, rocket science. Like, we all can see what's happening in college football, but to say that Oregon's spending $40 million on their roster is not unthinkable, because you look at their football department budget, and I consider that an investment into football. You look at the NIL capacity that Division Street has with Phil Knight funding it. I was told by a donor at Oregon who put $500,000 into Division Street. I said, what do you get for that? And the donor said, you get nothing. You get no say. For $500,000, you get no say in where the money is going, Puck. And so, this is very much Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, maybe Penn State to some extent, Notre Dame, all going pedal to the metal. Miami's in there too. There's only like 6 or 8 schools that are spending like that, but Oregon's at the top.
So it's the number for these schools just spent on the team. Like, that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Like, is about between 40 and 50?
Yeah, because I was looking at BYU. Okay, here's just a great example. Random Big 12 example.
They should be spending the most. They've got the most money.
I was looking at BYU because BYU played Portland State. In Portland State, their budget in football is $4.8 million. Okay, Portland State and BYU played a football game. BYU won 69-0. But Portland State's budget is $4.8 million. They have no revenue sharing dollars. They have no NIL. So it's just a flat $4.8 million. That's what you get on the field. At BYU, that number for the athletic department football budget is going to be around $40 million. Then they're going revenue sharing. They're going the full 20.5. You figure 75 to 80% of that is going into football. I'll say another $15 million. So you're now at $55 million. Then a typical Big 12 school in the NIL space is going to spend $8 or $10 million in NIL. BYU is probably higher, but you're looking at $65 million invested in football at BYU. So you tell me, what is Oregon putting into football? And so $65 million at BYU, $4.8 million at Portland State. Your final score is 69-0. I mean, I think there's a math correlation we could start doing here with these programs.
Yeah, and then I'm just, as a college football fan, I'm just disappointed in this week's schedule, last week's schedule as well.
Yeah.
And I know Ohio State opened up with Texas, but again, you look at these, I just would love for these teams. What are you gaining out of this?
Yeah.
Like, what does Ohio State gain out of playing Grambling, or Penn State gain out of Florida International, and even Washington to a degree? What do you gain by playing UC Davis? It was clear the second they lined up. I mean, there's just not even a competition.
Well, I can tell you.
And Georgia, Austin Peay, even though they didn't obliterate them, but what's the advantage of this?
Well, they need a win, okay, because they know that this current CFP system, if you are a Power 4 member and you have fewer than 2 losses, you are in play for a college football playoff berth. So anybody who's 10-2 at the end of this is going to get consideration if you're in the Power 4. And so you want to schedule the best possible opponent that you can beat. And you also want to get your team in position for conference play to win games. And so let's even look at Oregon. They play Montana State. Then they ratchet it up a little bit against Oklahoma State. Then they get a conference game with Northwestern. Then they get Oregon State at home. There's really no threat in there for Oregon to lose any of those games, Puck. They get to sell out the home games against Montana State. Season tickets will sell out anyway. Season tickets will sell out at Ohio State no matter who you're playing. At Alabama, no matter who you're playing, you're going to sell out the season tickets.
Sure.
So you get that team to come. You get a win. You stay alive in the playoff thing. There's just no incentive right now to take that tough non-conference game. even though week 1 gave us like all those top 10 matchups. I don't think we're going to see that again unless something is changed with the playoff format, because right now, if you look at future schedules for a school like Oregon, they're playing like a Baylor or an Oklahoma State as their tough non-conference game. They're not trying to schedule anybody that can beat them.
What is going on in Corvallis? I guess being this far away, I didn't realize the vitriol that a lot of Beaver fans have for Bray, the head coach. And truth be told, I didn't see a second of their game they played, but just seeing the comments and then obviously his viral clip about the special teams. So 1, how bad was it this past week? And then 2, where are we at with Oregon State and Bray? I mean, now you've got reports coming out. He's alienating high school coaches, in-state recruits. This seems to be a real messy situation that maybe he can't pull out of.
Well, if you look back, it goes back to Jonathan Smith leaving. Okay. If you go back to that game that Oregon State played against Washington in the rain 2 years ago, 22-20, it was kind of Oregon State's last moment, right? They were a top 10 team. They were ranked 10th when that game went down. They lose that game 22-20. Shortly thereafter, Jonathan Smith announces he's leaving. The program floodgates open. There's a lot of frustration and angst at Oregon State is what I'm saying. And it wasn't that long ago that they mattered. So Scott Barnes, the AD, very quickly promotes Trent Bray in an attempt to like keep some of the roster together, keep some continuity, hire somebody. You know, that interview process. He interviewed Brent Brennan, who went to Arizona. He talked to Bray. It was Bray's job all the way. And so Bray takes the job, steps in last year. There was some questions when Bray took over about whether or not he had sort of the feel of a CEO. He's a real football coach, and people who know him know that he's not a personable guy. Like when he does his interviews on my show, it's hard, Puck. You know, when you're interviewing somebody who's not like an affable guest, who's engaging, it's really hard to pull stuff out of him unless you're actually talking about X's and O's. He doesn't want to talk about other things. And it's a lot of work to get him to soften up, loosen up, deal with donors. So there were questions about him. Could he do all those things around the edges? Is he just a coordinator like Mark Helfrich, or can he develop into a head coach? So here comes this year. In the opener against Cal, they looked unprepared. They didn't look ready for it. And I left that game going, gosh, they were sloppy. They didn't look good on offense. They didn't look prepared. A lot of dumb penalties. And then you kind of give them a mulligan, though. You go, it's week 1. Here comes week 2. Now, the offense looked great. They had 500-plus yards. They outgained Fresno State badly. The defense had some bad moments where they gave up some big plays, but they should have won this game, Puck. They couldn't snap the ball. They had 6 snaps on punts or field goal or extra point attempts that went awry. They were either bounced or they sailed over the holder's head, or they sailed left of the punter, right of the punter. Fresno State at one point, the punter, the ball's on the ground. He kicks it, tries to kick it off the ground. Fresno State scoops it up and runs 60 yards for a touchdown the other way. It costs them easily 13 points, maybe more. 13 to 19 points is what I kind of estimated they gave away on special teams. They still had the lead with 1:17 to go, and they're kicking off. So they score a touchdown. They're going to salvage the win. Bray at halftime does this interview where he drops an F-bomb. Like, you can't do that. CW is your partner who just, believes in you, and you're dropping F-bombs on their airwaves.
I kind of liked it.
Getting into 100% of American households.
Yeah, it's good. He's the football coach, John. It's not all clean language.
But he's also talking in that moment, and I give him a little bit of a berth here. He's talking to Nigel Burton, who he knows. Nigel Burton, who was an assistant coach at Oregon State at one point. He was a player at Washington, the head coach at Portland State. So when Trent Bray's talking to Nigel Burton, it's not like he's talking to Joe McGee, who's the sideline reporter. This isn't Aaron Andrews, okay? So he says it's
that's for sure. Nigel Burton's not Aaron Andrews.
It's a bleeping joke, the special teams. Yeah. And then he goes into the locker room. In that moment, I went, oh no, because you look undisciplined on the field. You look like you're not in control or prepared. You look like your special teams is a mess and you haven't practiced long snapping, or you don't have a long snapper. I'm watching on the sideline. After the long snapper, shoots it awry a few times, they change long snappers. I'm watching. They're not practicing on the sideline. If I'm the long snapper who's going in, I got a coach over there going, we're going to do 100 of these while the offense and defense are on the field because we want to make sure we get this right. they just sent the kid back out there and, all hell broke loose. And so Bray comes into the post game. Scott Barnes, the AD, is at the back of the room. I'm looking at Barnes. He got his arms folded. He's listening. Bray's apologetic. He's saying the right things. They're 0-2. They're going to lose to Texas Tech this week. They're going to lose at Oregon next week. They're going to be 0-4. Can Bray hold on to the locker room at 0-4 is the big question at Oregon State. If he can, down the stretch, they've got 7 or 8 games where they should be in these games. They should have a chance to win, 6 or 7 of those 8 games, right? But the question is, does he lose the team? Because he's losing some of the fan base right now. If I'm Barnes, I stay with him because I owe him too much money. $3.6 million would be the buyout at the end of the year. It's a lot of money for Oregon State, not for some schools, but they don't want to do that. So, yeah.
That's it. It's messy.
Yeah.
I feel for our Beaver brethren. Certainly. Meanwhile, America's team and America's coach, Jimmy Rogers, 2-0, bounce back there against San Diego State. And that's the kind of team I thought we were going to see in week 1 against Idaho. They looked very, very different from week 1 to week 2. That's a testament to the players, but also to the coaches.
Yeah, look, I talked to Jimmy Rogers before the San Diego State game, and I said, hey, you got a W. You're 1-0 after the Idaho game. And he said, this is going to make people sick. He said, but I don't feel good about it. I would rather play really well and lose than play kind of a mediocre or a bad game and win. And he said, we didn't play well and we won. And so he wasn't happy with that. And I kind of like that. They came back, they looked like they had some identity. And suddenly these 2 games that I had penciled in on these Oregon State, Washington State games, I had penciled it in as kind of like, hey, that's 2 wins for Oregon State. And right now I'd have to give them to Washington State.
And in a couple of weeks, it'll be the Apple Cup, and apparently Jed Fish is going to reach out to Jaden DeLora because he's bringing up the plant flagging from 4 years ago when I don't think anyone on either team was around for that.
They're like, who is that? I loved your tweet that Will Rogers will be speaking to the Washington State.
Oh yeah, I mean, like that would be the equivalent. Let's bring Will Rogers in to talk about whether or not Jed Fish is going to run the speed option to the short side of the field. I don't want him to run any options this year on the Apple Cup because Damon Williams is a hell of a quarterback. And you can make an argument with Washington. They've got the best running back in the country. Yeah. I mean, he's just a stud. He's
I really like Washington. I think you want to play Washington early. I think Oregon.
Yeah, good call.
Nobody's talking about it from an Oregon standpoint. Everyone's talking about Penn State, who they have on the 27th coming up, and Iowa. I'm looking at the Washington game at the end of the year, and I think, if Jed Fish does what I think he can do with that Washington team, that offense is going to be formidable at the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, because you can make an argument from a 3-headed monster, and having seen all of the quarterbacks in the country and wide receivers, you make an argument with Williams in Boston, their top wide receiver, and Coleman, could be, at least in the discussion, is the best 3-headed, offensive weaponry that anyone has in the country for sure.
Yeah, it's fantastic. They look great. Apple Cup should be fun.
Yeah.
Glad it's going to be played.
Yeah. All right. What do you got up right now at johncanzano.com? And how can people go and subscribe?
Just go to johncanzano.com. Get a free subscription. Get a paid subscription. I'm working for you now. Works for me. I've got something coming on Nike and Adidas. They're in a fight.
Ooh.
And Penn State in the middle of it. People may know Penn State just chose Adidas with their new apparel deal, 32-year relationship with Nike. They're getting a divorce. I got the dirty details.
I'm team Nike all the way. Thank you, John.
All right, buddy.
As always, we'll see you next week.
Take care.
John Canzano talking all things college football with us. John Canzano, BFT there on social media. Baldface Truth Radio, Portland, Oregon, 750 The Game, 326. He joins us every Tuesday, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. And again, if you got a birthday party coming up, anything, large group events, there is no better place to go for a large group event, whether it's just family, friends, business, than Flat Stick Pub, flatstickpub.com. They're going to take care of you. We've had birthday parties there. They are fantastic. Great games for the kids, great beer and food for the adults and kids. Not the beer. They don't make a kids beer. When they do, then the places are going to really take off. And shout out to our guy, Andy Largent. He bought the Cougar football truck. Maybe at some point that will be at one of the Flat Stick Pub locations. But big thanks to Andy and Flat Stick Pub as they bring you John Canzano every single week. And if you look at the upcoming schedule this week in college football, I think it's a little bit better, but I don't know. I mean, I want top 25 teams playing. I don't like the schedule. Oregon's got Northwestern. Other than that, when you look at the top 25 schedule, you got number 6 Georgia, number 15 Tennessee. That's a good one. And then you've got A&M is playing Notre Dame, number 16 on the road against number 8 Notre Dame. Washington with the bye. They've got it off. The Apple Cup coming up in 2 weeks. Cougs taking on North Texas Saturday, 12:30 on ESPNU. All right, before we get on out of here, and you can enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, we got to finish up the show with Hey, What the Puck, like we always do. Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. Your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Jim and I had talked about this before. Now, if the playoffs started, I think that the Mariners would go with Logan Gilbert, that Dan Wilson would side with Logan Gilbert as his game 1 starter. But it's obvious now. I think more and more as each start passes, as I'm watching that game last night, I used to always love watching George Kirby pitch, and I still do, and I'm going to love watching him tonight. But there is something special about Bryan Woo, and it's not because he's got any more talent than the rest of the guys. He is your number 1 starter, and he will be, I would assume, the number 1 starter and game 1 starter for the playoffs. But it's just the rhythm, the execution, the fluidity, the ease in which he pitches is just something to behold. I think every young pitcher should look at his routine. It's the same every time. And it's so easy. He just throws the ball easy. The ball just jumps out of his hands. And I just think he has this quiet, fiery, just alpha dog competitor in him. And he has been a hell of a player to watch, hell of a pitcher to watch. It's just so much fun watching him go out for each start, and just a pleasure because anytime he walks a guy or throws a ball, you can see how much it angers him. But to watch the maturation of a young player like Bryan Woo, and, going back to the discussion about a couple of years ago that Cal Raleigh had with him at Fenway about doing everything you can behind the scenes to prepare yourself every day. He has taken that to heart, work ethic. Got to put in more work, more time. And you see the results. Number 1 starter on this team right now. Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle, your restoration company that's going to let you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Let them take care of you. Give them a call. They are the best in the business, 206-817-8917. You can also visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. That's it for us on a Tuesday. As always, thank you to you, the audience, for always watching and listening. Without you, we're done. No support. You guys give us great support, so thank you. And then also, we wouldn't be here without our fabulous sponsors. It starts first and foremost, Limbeck Lumber, Flat Stick Pub, Georgetown Brewery. Check out their new tavern beer, by the way, at your local bar. And, of course, visit their great website at georgetownbeer.com. And as we just finished there, Restoration One. You can find today's Daily Puck Drop and all Daily Puck Drops up on YouTube. When you're there, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button as well. Also find the DPD. That did not sound right. DPD on your favorite podcast platforms. Apple, Spotify, does not matter. And everything up at pucksports.com. When you're there, you can sign up if you choose to become a Pucks Posse member. $5 a month. You support all the free content we do at Puck Sports. In addition to it, you get bonus shows like our baseball coverage with Ryan Divish. Also, you get Thursdays with Mitch, KJ Arntz. Once a month, you get the Sports Pit with myself and Steve Sandmeyer and Matt Stretch Johnson. And, of course, now on Mondays, we produce the Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast, which you can find anywhere and everywhere. Also, if you're in Puck Survivor, be sure to get your picks in for this week. $500 grand prize there on the line. So don't forget, Puck Survivor, get your picks in for this week. And someone asked in the chat, you have to pick a new team each week. Yes, that's Survivor. Once you pick a team, they're done. Can't pick them again. All right, we will talk to you tomorrow on Wednesday's show. Jam-packed show, as always. We've got our MLB insider, Ryan Divish, back. We give you a little snippet of that, a little sneak preview with Divish. Rob Staten is back. SeahawksDraftBlog.com. We may get into our dinner from hell. And then also Old Crimson returns with myself and the go-to guy, Jim Moore, and Paul Sorensen. We'll see you tomorrow at 10. As always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!